Of course, I'm Benji Balmer, and thank you for coming tonight. And I wanted to start by reading a Google review. Recently, if you remember, we asked all of our members for Google reviews, and like 80 people gave us a 5-star review within 48 hours. And so it's been a humbling honor to read through those. And this was one that hit me. And I thought I'd start with it. So this person said, I was introduced to Yellowbird about 3+ years ago. They're wonderful people who know all there is about whole foods. I have battled an incurable disease for 9 years. I take expensive medications daily and I didn't feel better. I began with a subscription box and watched how they grew and began to offer other items through their store. I know I can't claim medical issues and each person responds differently. After 18 months of eating all whole foods with a slip now and then for something indulgent, I have lost 60 pounds and had the best checkup and lab work in years. I look forward to my delivery to plan my meals. This is a place you need to try. So, that is everything that we want to be about. The tool that is enabling us to eat in a way that we know we need to eat so that we've got the best health function, whether we're 2 or 92. And so the biggest thing that I took away from all those reviews was that there are a growing number of people who are very considerate about what they are putting either into their body or into their family's body for fuel, for food. And, in the beginning, we were hoping that there was lots of people out there like that. And to have it come to fruition, especially with the year we had last year with the pandemic, to be able to do that and to be able to give those tools and then hear that feedback that somebody has lost 60 pounds, has had the best lab work they've had in years. That's it. That's the whole shooting match. Then yesterday, as I'm getting ready for this, the Dirty Dozen list comes out, which if you're familiar with the Dirty Dozen list, it's the 12 highest pesticide produce items that are tested out of supermarkets. And so every year the list comes out and it's a lot of the same stuff each year. But this year, number 1 was strawberries. Number 2 was spinach. Number 3 was kale. And then number 5, and this is where I want to talk about it just for a second. Number 5 was apples. And so there's a thing, and it's listed on the bottom of the apple thing, and it says this. It says apples are 5th this year, the EWG said, which are the people that do the report. Apples are typically treated with diphenylamine, a chemical treatment used to prevent brown or black patches on the apple. It's banned in Europe due to a link to stomach and esophageal cancers. So I don't know my chemicals well enough to know what that is, but I immediately emailed Libby Wright, who is the manager of Glen Hill Farm here in Mount Vernon, where we get one of 3 orchards that we get our apples from. Now we have always told everybody that our apples weren't organic. There's only like 1 or 2 organic apple orchards in the state of Ohio, and they sell all their apples. They don't need the Yellowbird to help them sell their apples. So they're hard to get, is what I'm saying. But we've always told everybody, listen, we know the families that own the farms. It's Corey Hill, it's Ballman, and it's Glen Hill, which is Libby, who I emailed. So I said to Libby, I'm going on tomorrow night to talk to our members, and I want to know about your apples. The Dirty Dozen list just came out. I know you've told us before that you guys don't use chemicals, even though you're not organic, mostly for the cost. It costs a lot of money to use chemicals on your farm, and these small family orchards don't want to use chemicals because they can't afford to, which is good for us, but it's still not quote unquote certified organic. So she emails back within 2 or 3 hours and says, no, we do not use DPA. It is a chemical that can be used post-harvest to prevent storage problems. We do not use it, and I haven't heard of anyone in my co-op who does use it. she's part of the Ohio Apple Growers Association or something like that. I think it may be more common for large growers who need longer term storage. Please let me know any other questions you or your customers have. I'm always happy to answer. So, one, I'm glad that she doesn't use those. That's wonderful. It makes me feel a lot more comfortable, of course, bringing apples to all of our members that I know don't have that on it. But even more important than that, the fact that we know who she is. I live 10 minutes from her. I drive by her orchard when I take the back way to certain places in Mount Vernon all the time. I can see the fields. If I have a question about something that could or may be dangerous to us, I don't have to trust a label. I don't have to just guess and hope that, well, if it says organic, I hope that's true. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know who's growing this, but at the end of the day, this is the best I can do. We have long said we can do better. And this is proof of that we can reach out to our growers, and in a matter of minutes to hours, we have a response back, and there's nothing to hide. And she, if they would have used it, she would have said, yes, we use it, and here's why. Now I knew they didn't, and the reason I knew they didn't is because we've had the apples with the brown and black spots on them. Obviously, real food is going to decay, and there are times when we've all gotten an apple from us, the yellowbird, that has a spot on it. That is what is amazing to me, though, and the power of knowing where your food comes from and knowing who grew it, is that even if you don't personally know them, we're making it known to you through the newsletter, but you always can reach out to us. And with almost 100% feedback rate through Aaron Duggar, we're going to find out what you need to know. So that was the second thing. And the Dirty Dozen ends up rounding out with peaches and pears and plums. And then number 10 was peppers this year. They'd never tested peppers before. So peppers had never made the list. Well, they tested them and they're number 10. So, we do tons of peppers each year. And then number 12 was tomatoes, which of course we do tons of tomatoes. So, just knowing that the thing that we set out to do, which was create a link directly back to the grower so that we could answer all these questions beyond a shadow of a doubt without, reservation. And if the, instance is that, one of these growers that we've partnered with and has told us, how they're growing things, would ever slip up or whatever, be like, hey, we started using this or whatever, we would know. And then we can make a decision accordingly, say, listen, we can't buy from you if that's what you're doing, because that's not what our members demand. But, thank you for telling us. And so that relationship to me is the most important thing that we've established in all this time. I want to talk about the shifting paradigms of food buying. So when the pandemic started, lots of studies came out and they said the way that people buy food and get food delivered to them or pick up food from the grocery store will forever be changed. And I've never seen that be more true, even kind of where we're at now, a year later, where we were one of the only people on the block for a minute that were doing home deliveries. Now, there was other food groups like us, box food things, but the big box stores, the Whole Foods, the Krogers, they had a very minuscule home delivery system. They didn't, have the ability to really pull that off. Well, they learned quickly, of course, and now they've turned it so far that as far as I can see, you can order food from any of those places and have it delivered within 4 hours if you're willing to pay the fee. As well as we need new refrigerated vehicles, and it's almost impossible to find them. Every Amazon, Whole Food, Kroger distribution company, their centers and all the places that all this is happening are buying all of the refrigerated vehicles, the vans especially, that are out there on the road. So like right now we're trying to get a new van or two, and we just can't find them. They're up for sale. It's almost like trying to find a house right now. They're up for sale, and they're gone, as fast as they're on the available. So as that shifts, what we're trying to do is we're trying to pivot back. So what we did in 2020, as you know, is we made our store broad. We wanted to be able to acquiesce to everybody's requests for whatever they wanted in terms of their health food, for cereals or oils or whatever it might be. So we created a pretty robust store, over 2,000 items now, and we'll continue to do that. That will never go away. But really, what we see now is that the thing that we built, to circle back to the knowing who grew your food in the beginning, is the thing that we've held on to, and that is the most it's the best asset that we have, is that network of growers. And so that is the thing that, as we continue to see people talk about local and talk about what they're doing and how they're supporting small farms, most of that is just lip service. And it's hard to be on the inside of that and not try to expose that at every corner. I've always tried to not create a smear campaign, but to just talk about who we are. And so in doing that, that's where we're going to try to continue to brand that messaging, so that people know that that they can specifically know where their food comes from. It's not just well, we've bought some stuff from this place or that place in the past, and so we're going to put a huge poster up in our produce section, but that every item every week is accounted for. And in your newsletter and through our social media and all that kind of stuff, you're going to see just more and more stories. On this Saturday, for instance, Leah, our photographer and videographer and editor, is going to Three Creeks in Columbus, on the south side of Columbus, and she's going to monitor a seed all the way through. They're going to plant fennel for us, for the Yellowbird members, for later on in the year. And she's going to follow that seed from through video and photos, from planting to transplanting, to the seasons throughout the spring and summer in the field, to the harvest, to the distribution back to the warehouse, to the boxes out to your houses or to the truck pickups. So we're going to try to continue to tell that story of the grower and of the food and of the product over and over and over and over again. So that is the thing that, we're going to continue to do in 2021. Couple little house cleaning things. We are aware that we have had, I don't know if what the right word is. Mistakes is an easy way to say it in some of our deliveries. When we pack 1,000 orders a week, we have no system in place. There isn't one that exists with the software that we have to be able to double and triple check through like a scan gun every order we're packing. So our two people that pack all of our store orders, they're packing 1,000 orders a week. Just by sheer statistics of human error, there's going to be 4 to 10 orders that just get missed. A quantity gets missed. You ordered 2 milks and we only sent 1. But what we're doing is we're building, and we have been for 6 months now, building a back end system. We're doing it by hand, behind the scenes, while all the rest of the stuff continues to go on, so that we can have an inventory system that allows us to scan stuff, and that we can, when we pack orders, if it's not right, the thing will give us an error message, so that we can eliminate all of that if possible. There'll always be some, error or mistake, but that we'll be able to take care of that. And then on the front end, we're hoping to couple that with a new website, which won't probably happen in 2021, but hopefully soon, where that website allows our shopping window and our ordering window to expand, so that every week you don't have to cut your order off by Saturday, for the following week like we do now, but that you'll have like maybe 48 hours before your delivery day, and you might be able to choose a different delivery day. So rather than getting it on Friday, because that's not the best day for you, Thursday would be, you can get it on Thursday, and this is how that's going to look. Now, we're having to build all that out, but I wanted to, anyone who's on this call tonight, I wanted to at least talk about that, because it's something we're super excited about, but it is just a ton of back end work. And so until we've worked out all the kinks on that, we're obviously not going to roll it out to multiple thousands of people that potentially, could make it, all kinds of mistakes come in just because we weren't prepared for it. So we're trying to over prepare and over deliver, rather than just flying by the seat of our pants, where for the last, 8 months, it's just felt like, there's one fire after another that we're trying to put out. So we're probably never going to be able to deliver within 4 hours, but maybe within 24 or 48 hours, and change the way that we do that. You guys have been wonderful in the way that you currently shop. We are absolutely aware that it is wildly inconvenient to have to make your grocery selections by Saturday at midnight that you may not get till the following Saturday if you're a Saturday delivery or pickup. So thank you for plowing through that with us and staying with us on all that. We are also wanting to talk about home delivery versus truck pickup. So the two things that we currently do are, we do the home deliveries, and anybody can get that for $10 extra. We'll bring it to your house. We do hundreds of those a week, but then we also have the truck pickup. So if you want to come to one of our parking lots, which we're at the same parking lots for the same time on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, you can come, and for no fee, you just show up and all of your orders on that truck and you pick it up. Now we're at 3 parking lots on 3 or 4 on Thursday, 3 or 4 on Friday, and then 1 at Swainway on Saturday. What my question to you is, and will be to the broader audience as time progresses, is as you're having to go back to work, as you're maybe having to take your kids back to school and pick them up from school. Right now, we don't have really an evening pickup, and some of that's because of daylight for the winter. But for the summer last year, by 6:30 or 7:30 at every location, we were done. I mean, we had started at noon and we're finished by about 7:30. My question would be: is there an advantage to having some parking lots in the evening hours, say 7:30 to 9? What I don't want to do is send out labor, i.e. truck drivers and workers, to an empty parking lot because nobody wants to come late to pick everything up. But what I also don't want to do is I don't want to lose a bunch of customers because they can't get anywhere that we're at until 7:30. Because they're at work or because their kids have practice or whatever that might be. So think about that. Talk to your groups about that. It sounds like, the evening hours, Kate said. And that's what I'm going to think is going to end up happening. And we're already talking about that here internally, just what that's going to look like for summer, especially when it's lighter, longer. It won't be such a deal, but making that shift and that transition, we're trying to get, when we did this originally with the parking lots, we want to be at the most places we can be at on the most sides of town we can be at, but we're not, we only have 1 or 2 big delivery trucks. And so, we just have to plan very carefully and, decide where we're going to be and when. So anyways, see how that lays out for y'all, and email us, of course, with any suggestions, or if the people you're talking to, if your friends and family that are yellow birders, the people that you work with, see what the temperature is out there on that, and we'll, figure it out accordingly. 2 more things. Number 1, events. In 2020, we did 0 events, as I think, nobody's done events in 2020. As we get this slow release to go out, back into civilization and do different things, we want to do more event type things. We've experimented with all kinds of stuff in the past. I've had on-farm dinner events at my farm in Mount Vernon. We've done stuff in the city where we've gone to different restaurants and met for dinner on any given night. This is through, years of stuff. So if you don't remember any of this, it might be before you were with us. We've done, just all kinds of stuff, but, just trying to get a gauge on that. Is it worth us spending time, spending money? Is it worth it for you to spend $100 to get a high-end, totally local, celebrity chef type catered meal with some kind of a, maybe a music event or a Q&A attached to it, or whatever that might look like. So we're kind of tossing those around, but I just need feedback, because if it's not worth it, or you don't feel like, that people would come because they're not quite ready to get out. I know you can't speak for everyone, but here's another way to say it. I live in Mount Vernon, Ohio. There's 20,000 people here. I'm in the city some, to do different things, for Yellowbird, but I don't live there. I don't move back and forth between schools and offices and everything in the city. And so I don't know what the temperature is there on that and what people are feeling or thinking. I don't want to move too quickly, but I don't want to be behind. If we could be planning something that you'd feel, comfortable, of course, it'd be socially distanced, all the things that have to be done, that would still exist. But we would be able to pull something off maybe with all those in place. So it sounds like if it was just the people that are on this call with me, we would all be meeting and having a fun, evening together. So then the last thing is this. Just the looking to 2021 and beyond. We have preached and preached and preached the same thing over and over and over again. And it's really this: it's food security, it's food resilience, and it's personal health. Never before have all three of these kind of triangulated in such a profound way as they did last year. Personal health, obviously, the whole thing was about a sickness and about your immune system and about, what you were equipped to handle as a human body. Now, I say all that, I got COVID. I had COVID 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. My whole family did. And all the kids really showed almost no sign. My wife and I both went down each for about 3 days, but really only one of those days was really bad. And even then, I've had a flu that was 25 times as bad. So, we have spent a ton of time, and I know it affects everybody differently. It's not like, well, I just ate some magic food and it made me resilient to it. But, we've lived our life with the idea that we're not going to not get sick. We will get sick. That's part of the human experience. But when we do, what do we have at our disposal? What are our tools that we're using to be able to fight off something or even prevent something in the case of like a heart disease or some of these preventable diseases through diet, and of course exercise and all kinds of other stuff. But that tool bag that you have at your disposal, that we have at our disposal, it never ran dry last year. And that was the biggest fascination for me, was to watch our local food shed not run out of food and never be, there were individual things we ran out of, but we never had a meat shortage. We never had a flour shortage. We never had any of that. And it's, all of our flours from Stutzman out in Beach City or out in Amish country. And of course, they grow all of their own grain that they grind and make into all the different flours. And, we never ran out of it, where, I saw pictures of store shelves that didn't have an ounce of flour to be had. So, that's food resilience. The food shed responded, the growers, the eaters, the buyers, the in-betweeners, which is us, we're kind of the people that stand in between and try to unite the two. They showed up with confidence that they were not, I don't know what the right word, shaken maybe is one way to say it. And so it was very, very encouraging to think about what would happen in another pandemic, what would happen in a worse pandemic, how long would we be able to have food? This was kind of a shadow or a hint of what could happen. We saw it where there was some people that were a little bit nervous about the food in their house and the food in their grocery stores. Listen, if something major happened ever for an extended period of time, longer than what we even experienced last year, it would be way worse in terms of what you could get at the grocery store. All those chains, the reason that lumber is so expensive, the reason it's hard to find a house right now, the reason that all the different things that are happening, I've talked to the suppliers throughout all this because I've been building a house as well. It's been a crazy year, but we're building a house on our farm. And of course, lumber's 3 times what it was a year ago, and it's hard to get. And I've talked to the suppliers and they're like, it's not that there's not enough lumber, it's that all the supply chains went down. when all of this happened, because everything got redirected. Trucks got redirected to deliver masks and, stuff to people on the front lines, which they should have. That was great. But in the meantime, you see what happens then on the trickle down from that, and we're not ready for it. So in the food system and with the food resilience, and then the food security, and knowing that, hey, listen, we have spoken to our growers continuously throughout all this. And listen, we may not be able to get a yogurt from Iowa that we currently carry in the store because it's a good brand, and we want to have that available because people have requested it. So we'll carry that brand. That may get cut off because if Whole Foods can't get it, Yellowbird certainly can't get it. But what won't get cut off is every item of produce and egg and meat that we have brought in, because we literally are on the phone and at those farms and shaking hands and writing checks to all of those 100 to 150 people that we've connected over the last 7 years. All that to say, that is for you. That is for your confidence. You don't get to see them all the time. You don't get to, shake their hands like we do. You don't get to write the checks directly to them. You write them to us, and then we turn around and write them to them. But the food was there, and I was never nervous about, will we have enough food for our contingency and for our group? And that gave me confidence for all of us. It gave me confidence that it's going to take a lot more than what happened in 2020 to shake our food shed. And listen, that's what we set out to do. The point of doing what we're doing is for what I just talked about for the last 8 minutes. And this food system is broken. The pandemic did not break the food system. It was broken already. It just exposed the brokenness. And so what we can do through grassroots, through, what we're doing as a food shed and as a community, is we can go and we can build our own food system. Of course, people think we're crazy. Of course, people thought I was crazy when we started this, and they were like, well, why don't you just plug into this or plug into that? Or, you're going to try to compete against Whole Foods. And I was like, no, I'm not competing against them. I think that there's a contingency of people that are, that want to even build out a smaller, more robust, more secure, more resilient food shed and tighten the circle, not make it bigger. So, right now that food shed that supplies our world is the size of the globe. A pandemic shrunk it maybe to the size of a country. If there was a major drought in the Western states for any longer than there has been, and all of a sudden all that vegetable transportation gets cut off as it comes back across the Mississippi, and you can't get that food anymore, will we have the resilience and the security in place in Ohio, in the Midwest, in this region, east of the Mississippi, even, for Pete's sake, to be able to handle what could happen with that? My answer for us, the ones on this call, is yes, absolutely. And so, we may have to eat a lot more vegetables, but we're eating a lot already. And so, that's not that hard of a transition. So that's it. That's my long-winded way of thanking you. It's my long-winded way of saying thank you for the confidence that you've given us. Thank you for the money that you've given each week as you buy your food from us. Thank you for always giving us your feedback. Thank you for when I ask for a Google review and 80 people give, there wasn't less than a 5-star review given. And it's just their personal stories. I've got pages of them printed out that I hang around the warehouse so that all of our team can read them. I'm like, guys, these are the homes that we're in. These are the people. We may stand and pack 1,000 boxes a week, and it gets monotonous and it gets cold because we're in the cooler, and it gets whatever it is. But each of the people that are getting these boxes, they're only getting one. So if not every box is packed with the love and the intentionality and the arrangement, I know that sometimes stuff gets spilled, that is perfect. It's you're only getting one or maybe two for some people, but that, that's how they're going to see it. And so I always tell the person on the end of the line, there's usually 4 or 5 people long on an assembly line, packing these boxes. And I tell the last person, listen, the last thing that goes in that box before that lid closes is your love, because the first thing that's going to come out when the lid opens is whatever energy you put into it. And so if you're standing there grumpy, or you're standing there, humbugging or whatever, that's the energy that's going to come out to the people as they open the box. And so that last thing in is our love. And so as we do that and continue to do that, the biggest thing that I could ask of you, if I was going to have one request tonight, besides feedback on all the questions I asked, is that we grow 9-to-1 by word of mouth. And so if you are talking about and sharing your life and your food, I know it's a lot harder in 2020, but it's going to get easier, hopefully, to be able to share a meal, to sit down with somebody, to talk about what this is all about. You don't even have to, it's not even a hard sell. It's not a, hey, I think you should buy Yellowbird because this, that, or the other. It's, here's the story about what's happening in our soil, about what's happening with our food, about what's happening with the Dirty Dozen list and the whatever. And I know who grows my apples. And so I don't need them to say organic, because I can ask the grower, do you put this chemical that's banned in Europe that is known to cause esophageal and stomach cancer on your apples? And she will respond back with a yes or a no. If she responds yes, then we need to figure out from there. But she responds no, and now we know, and we're in the clear, and we're like, okay, well, what's the next thing that we need to worry about? And we can go on to that. So continue to tell the story of your life and your food journey and your health journey, if for nothing else, just to be able to be the testimony to everybody else that also it needs a handheld or an encouragement or a you can do it. There is a reason that you feel better when you eat a certain way and you don't eat another way. Et cetera, et cetera. It's things you're already doing. Let me just continue to encourage you to continue to do them. And that's what, we want to be here for. We want to offer new media, new stories, new encouragements, new recipes continuously, new products, new food that's being grown, new varieties of whatever. I know nobody wants kale anymore in their box, but when we've committed to the growers that when you grow the kale, we're going to buy it from you, then, we've got to buy it. And so we're like, well, okay, plant 5 different kinds of kale. Although we have kind of learned our lesson on kale because of how prolific it is. So hopefully in 2021, you'll have some off weeks where we shift to a different green, but you know how it is. And you've been so loyal to us. And so I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. Let me just give you a couple minutes. And if you've got any questions, type them in the chat and, I'll answer anything. The Asian greens, Cheryl loves the Asian greens. So the Asian greens are actually all grown, almost all by Bradwood, which I posted their YouTube channel in a newsletter, I think a week ago, where they had actually come here and interviewed me. But they grow those because they can do it consistently. And we know that we, want to have that variety available. So the anatomy of the box, if you've never heard me say it, is one, we try to build the boxes around one cooking green, which is kale, chard, spinach, collards, one Asian green, which is the tatsoi, bok choy, pak choy, the edible chrysanthemums, all those different things, the watercress. We want one of those. We want at least one lettuce, if not 2. We want a fruit if we can have it. And then we want some sort of like specialty something. So like if we're in roots, like of course you're going to get potatoes, but then we also want you to get like a parsnip or a beet or something that you may not be brave enough to buy at the store, but with the right recipe, you can use it, out of your box and then, be able to try something. Yeah, change the way. Yep. Until my box comes. Yep. So for every one of you, or Kate, there's also one of you that, the cookies, you just distracted me. So if you didn't get the cookies, we didn't put the cookies in the minis because we didn't have enough. But if you were in the medium or the bases or the fulls, you got a shamrock sugar cookie this week. That is my hands down. Listen, I have a sweet tooth like none other. I've tried everything you can try, and I try to not eat it. these sugar cookies were my absolute favorite cookies. We're actually hanging a couple from this week that we put in the freezer that we're going to have available. We might make them available in the store in a limited quantity. So you can look for those again. But let me go back to the thing. You said that you love the surprise. For everybody that loves a surprise, there's one that doesn't. And so what we've tried to do is and we're going to continue to do, is if you go on our store on the produce section, you can pick all this stuff a la carte. So we're going to continue to push this. And as you're talking to people, continue to push it to them. Hey, listen, you don't have to get the subscription box. There's a $25 minimum order, which is the cost of our mini box. But you can go in and you can pick what you want. So if you want all onions, for Pete's sake, you could get all onions, but you can go in and select what you want. So you can go in and pick from right now this is the worst time of year for food. We've got 5 pages of produce available. So, anybody that is not down with a surprise or doesn't really like a lot of things and they're like, I'm pretty picky, that's fine. We're going to make all that produce available to just make your own box, or, we call it kind of a BYOB, build your own. So, you'll be able to do that as you want. Now, our core tenet will always be the subscription box. It's the cheapest way because we can commit to a lot of food that way. So we can get the most bang for your buck as the buyer by having the consumer buy the box. If you build your own, it's more of like a retail price. And so it ends up being a more expensive way to do it, but it's the only way that we can do that. And so, yeah, that's just the part of that. You've loved the partnership with Thorpe's. Yeah, absolutely. So I've been hammering that citrus this winter because of the lack of, it's like having scurvy. We're in Ohio. We might as well be on a pirate ship. The skies are gray, the water comes down, the days are short, and we absolutely need all of that C and D too that we have to take, supplementally even sometimes. And so getting that grapefruit, orange, tangerine, lemon at times, orange juice has been a great shot in the arm for our winter boxes. The hardest part of all that is that because that produce kind of looks bad sometimes, it's hard for us because we cut into them each week to see like, well, it looks bad on the outside, but we know the inside's perfect still usually. It's hard when that goes out and somebody does get a bad one, because then they're like, they kind of get turned off to it. And so we try to do the best we can of informing people. This is old world fruit. This is grown organically, and literally the way that skin is and the way that it looks when it's kind of dark and sometimes even looks bad on the outside, that's to protect the fruit on the inside, because the plant is thinking about that falling to the ground and it wants to proliferate itself, but it needs to protect itself. So that's why that skin does that. But that's old school organic. So that's why that looks like that. But I mean, so listen to this story. I've taken those bananas that we've had, from months ago, and I put those, once we were done with them, I had a whole big, stock of them, like maybe 50 on a thing, and they were black. I put them in a freezer, like a lay down freezer. And when I want some, I'll go take off 2 or 3 and I'll put them in the fridge and let them thaw. Now they look ridiculously gross, but when you open them up, it's like banana pudding. I mean, it is amazing. I had one today in a smoothie at lunch. And so, that fruit by Mother Nature is built to last. Yep, Jennifer, eat some things I've never eaten before. Yep, you've made your own and missed out. I know that's part of the fun of it. So here, let me give you one more example. And I'll get to your question, Kate, there at the bottom. We are working with North Country Charcuterie right now, which if you don't eat meat, then this won't be that cool. But if you do, we've got these charcuterie sticks from North Country Charcuterie. It's like these salami sticks, but they're going to take our pork from our pastured raised animals from Sweetgrass Dairy, and they're going to make us a limited edition release, Yellowbird only variety. They're actually going to do 2 of them for us. So there'll be things that you'll be able to get from us and through us that you'll be able to get nowhere else. Right now, if you could get North Country anywhere in Columbus, you can go to any of the grocery stores or any of the farmers markets and they're there. They're going to make us an exclusive product for our members only that, will be unable to be gotten anywhere else. And so I'm looking forward to doing more stuff like that with our vendors. getting things that are very limited release, very special just for our Yellowbird people. So the question is, previously ordered section on my website. It seems like yes is the best way to save items, to favorite them. Yes, I agree. So the previously ordered thing, it kind of isn't the best way. Again, I don't want to trash our website company because they've gotten us to here, but they're not great at lots of stuff. And one of those things is that previously ordered thing, because if you don't previously order enough items, it just auto fills that. And so there'll be items on your previously ordered that don't even go in there. Or that go in there that you didn't even order. The best way is your favorite section. I actually had them expand the favorites. For a while, you could only put 12, but now you can do as many as you want. So I go in, for me personally, when I shop, I heart everything that I'm buying so that when I come back the next week, I can just auto populate straight to my cart through the favorite section. Yeah, so that's the best way, in my opinion, to do that, which is why I had them create that. I actually had to spend extra money to have them do that on top of everything, but I really like it better that way. Any other things while we're on here? Any other questions or anything that you think other people would ask that may, for the video portion of it, may be a good question to be able to cover for somebody else? Yes, the pie items. That's our favorite box. We love the pie box. It is absolutely, the most social media posted, I guess you would say, because people just make those pizzas and then put those pictures up and hashtag us and add us and all that kind of stuff. What can we expect for spring? Yes. So there's three things that when these three things come in, we know spring has come. Number one is ramps, which is a wild onion. If you don't know what ramps are, if you've not been with us in the past spring, ramps grow in the woods, and they have a kind of a 2 or 3 leafy green top, and then kind of an onion, like a green onion bulb in the ground, but they're a cross between an onion and garlic. So they don't overpower each other one way or the other. You get both onion and garlic in the plant, but they grow wild. So they're super hard to harvest. They take forever. We have to pay $1 million for them, but they're amazing. The chefs love them, at-home chefs love them, and all of our, many of our members love them. That's the first thing. The second thing then is, of course, asparagus. Asparagus is really the first thing out of the ground in the spring that lets us know that Mother Nature is here on the warm front to stay. So when those asparagus crowns start coming out, we know that normally almost always the freezing is past. Now, last year we've had asparagus come up and then we had another freeze and it ruined a bunch of asparagus, but that's the second thing. The third thing is green onion. Or spring onions, as you could call them. When we start to get the bunches of green onions like you would buy at the store all the time, those in Ohio only come up in the spring best. And so when those come, that's our third major spring item. Now, other things that start coming in the spring are, you had said endive there, and we are getting some of our growers to plant endive this year. We've had endive from Bradwood before, but it's the fluffy kind of spiky endive. I want the tight wound, almost like a little cabbage head looking endive with some purple and some red in there. Some other things that will come in the spring. We're going to have early tomatoes this year. We've got some people that are growing in hoop houses for us in soil, but underneath of plastic so that the heat is there earlier. So we'll have early tomatoes, which I'm really looking forward to. Of course, strawberries. Last year was a crap year for strawberries. Now, strawberries, not ironically, are number one on the Dirty Dozen list. Why do you think they're number one? Because they're hard to grow and they're hard to give a shelf life to. So even when we get strawberries, they are on the clock. And the same with the blackberries, which we had a great year for last year. But when we pick those up, the moment we pick them up, they're getting soft, they're juicing, they're becoming a nuisance. And so we're always trying to pack them in a way that you get them so that they're not completely mushy by the time you get them. But that means for us, a lot of times we got to go out and pick them up a second time each week. So not only on Tuesdays, but also on Thursdays. We're hoping for bigger strawberry yield this year. The problem with the strawberries now is that because they're in such high demand when they're grown organically, because everybody knows they're number one on the Dirty Dozen, any of our strawberry growers can sell them at full retail value at every place they're at. So every farmer's market or every, they've got their own CSA or whatever that might mean. Those strawberries are hard to come by. So we try to reserve them early. We try to, put our notice in like, hey, we'll take every one you've got. We should have a great year for red raspberries. We have a new red raspberry grower this year who's a friend of mine, who's been with us for a long time, but got her own farm. And so she's going to grow red raspberries. Those will be, of course, blueberries follow strawberries, so that'll be still happening in the spring. And then, on and on we go. I think last year we did 170 different varieties of food on the produce and fruit side. So we're looking for that again. Blackberries were incredible. Last year was your first year to use the ramps. Yep. Any other recipe ideas on the ramps? We pickle those ramps whole. So we take that whole green and bulb and throw them down in a jar with a pickle recipe in pickle juice and pickle them that way. And then you can eat those things and put them on things that way. We will also, I will straight saute those bad boys in a pan whole. If I'm eating turnips, this is another, for instance, if I'm eating turnips, especially those Hawkeye, like the white ones, I'm cutting those into quarters, but I'm leaving the green on and I'm cooking them white and green. In the case of the pesto, the bulb and the green in a pan, oil in a pan, bulbs in, salt and pepper, and that's a side dish that's going to go with anything. The blackberries, I am still eating today. I had a smoothie with blackberries that were frozen from last year. So as you start to get those things, think about, that's another food security, food resilience thing. Think about buying bigger quantities from the store and then freezing them in Ziplocs or however you want to freeze them. Of course, you can make jam. Of course, you can do all kinds of stuff, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. It literally can be in a baggie. I haven't bought one piece of fruit that I didn't know that didn't come from the Yellowbird all winter long. Yeah, still have frozen corn. We're actually going to send out frozen corn here in the coming weeks. Wholesome Valley, who's a partner of ours, they have a processing facility. And so we sell it on the store, the frozen blueberries and the frozen corn from Wholesome. They're kind of expensive, but we bought one of the corns for everybody. And so those are going to go in boxes in the coming weeks. So yeah, we're trying to get better at that. We do not yet have access to a commercial processing kitchen that we can do our own stuff like that in, but that's also in the works. Probably not 21, but maybe 22 in 2022 and beyond, where we begin to create our own product. And we've done it some with some of our like people that know and have a pickling license to do pickled beets, some of that kind of stuff. But we really want to do it ourselves. We really want to create a brand that we can private label and put on a shelf in a grocery store and be able to have that avenue for more food. Ultimately, all we're trying to do is buy more food from the grower, because if we can buy more food from the grower, that money goes back into that economy. It goes back into their pocket, into their infrastructure, which means they can buy better equipment. They can buy labor. None of these growers, they can't afford to pay anybody to help them. There's not enough money in it, even with the amount of money we're paying. And so we've got to scale them in a way and support them in a way that it's not 1,000 of us creating a food shed eating from them. It's 5,000 of us. And they're able to say, oh, I'm in, Can I break my boxes down and bring them back to you guys? You cannot. We used to kind of do that just as a service, like, bring them back to us and we'll recycle them. But right now we're still under this COVID restriction where we don't really know. There's a gray area where we don't know what we're allowed to take back and what we're not allowed to take back and all that kind of stuff. So until we know for sure, and it is like, this is the rule, we're not taking anything back. It's a great idea, but just recycle them yourselves or upcycle them or, do whatever you're going to do with them. We will eventually do that with egg cartons in our boxes where we can bring them back. And if nothing else, just throw them in our own recycling. I mean, we recycle a a dumpster full of cardboard every week because a lot of our stuff comes in cardboard. So yeah, that's the answer to that. Well, I'll tell you what, it's 7:56. We've made it an hour. Here's what I'm going to do for the others that weren't here. I'm going to take this recording. We'll post it later. I'll send the link to everybody, and then you can post it and send it out to everybody that wasn't here that might want to see it. I do know there were a lot of people that had told me beforehand they weren't going to be able to make it, but wanted to see it. So thank you guys for tuning in and for the questions. Most of all, thank you for your patronage and how you continue to support our food system and really live the food shed. You are it. I am it. We are it. So we are the food shed, and let's talk soon.